Now this one was very fun to put together. It took quite some time, but like I say, once you understand how the calendars work, you'll be able to do this yourself. It also took a lot of digging. I had to go through a lot of information from a lot of outside sources, such as Josephus, Tim Warner. I also used E.W. Bollinger's books to help, and other, I guess, links off the internet. I'm pretty new to this YouTube creating stuff, so as far as leaving links in the description and stuff like that, I don't know how to do any of that yet. I'm just doing all this off my phone because this is the best way I know how to do it. So I'm just going to start giving you a rundown of what's going on here. And you guys can screenshot this, and you can even zoom in on it if you wish. And you'll be able to read everything a lot better. So right here we're looking at the top left corner. That would be 3 BCE, the lunar calendar. And of course, there was a little debate on with some folks that I've been learning from on whether Zacharias was actually a Melchizedek himself. But he was a priest in the temple at that time, and I believe it was under Abijah, and it's spelled a little bit differently here. Avia. So if you look, these would be the courses. So there's 52 weeks in a year. So that means there's 52 courses, one priest per course. Unless it's a feast week, then all of the priests would serve in a temple, helping with sacrifices and burnt offerings and feasts and such like that. If you go into the Book of Chronicles, you'll be able to see all the courses. And there's also some outside sources, some very good ones actually, that I used in order to help me decipher when the timing was around Zacharias. And I will say that one thing that brings all of these calendars together is nobody's ever detracted from it. What I'm trying to say is everybody always followed that one right to a T, and I'm talking about the wave sheath and also Pentecost. These always seem to be, Pentecost isn't, but if the days fall correctly, which of course in every year they won't, because of the progression of the vernal equinox, and of course the progression of the the moon. Some years they get an 8 or a 2. I believe it's every 19 years, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on that, but so this -3 BCE is the lunar calendar up top, and that's pretty much what I used in order to find the courses, because I know that the Yahudim, the Jews, do not do the Torah correctly. They sure are trying hard though. But ever since the Babylonian captivity, they've been lost ever since. And they do not have this ancient calendar of Melchizedek anymore that John the Baptist and Yahusha ended up using. Because if they didn't, they would have both fell into sin, and they would have been guilty themselves. So, here we go. So as you can see, I have the 23 to 30. That actually correlates from Shabbat to Shabbat. So you'll see on the 23rd, that's at noon, is when the new priestly course would begin. And then it would end at 12 a.m. And then a new priest would begin. And then so on. That would carry on all the way through. But of course, right here, you see how one priest did this first course, and then the spring feast begins of Passover and unleavened bread, wave sheaf. So that's when pretty much all the priests would gather up and help out in the temple. So you see all these go along throughout the weeks, and then you'll see the course. Here's one, and then all the priestly courses would begin. So everybody would go, but that week wouldn't be counted. So then week 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. 8 and 9 would be the course of Avia or Abijah. And then the ninth course would be the course of Yahusha, according to the Book of Chronicles. And then, of course, we have, see, the 24th, I believe, is when the calendar of Melchizedek began. So the vernal equinox is actually on the 23rd. And then the next day, the following day, the 24th, would begin your day count. So 1, 2, 3, and so on. It's either that, or I did this chart like a year ago, like over a year ago, so it's kind of hard to remember. So you count your 14, and then you get to Passover here on the 7th. And then you'll be able to decipher the day count and everything. The first Sabbath, let's see, it was 3:30, -3. But on the Melchizedek, I didn't X out the Passover week. I had a really good reason for that, but right now it kind of, I can't remember right now. Let's see right here what this says. The first course begins on the first Sabbath, 7th cycle of the new year. Okay. The ministrations of the priests end midday on the next Sabbath, 7th day cycle. So that's how I deciphered the courses. So even though the month began here, the week wasn't a full week. So then the first course couldn't begin until the Sabbath day, the first Sabbath day of the first year of the first month. So even right down here, it must have, as you could see right here, would have been 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that wouldn't have been a complete week either, maybe. It would have had to start the week before the Passover. So it looks like I started the calendar of Melchizedek's first priestly course began on the 30th. And then, of course, you get your 1 week. And then, the 6th is, I remember how I did that. I'd have to go back and look at this particular year on the 24th and make sure that the equinox was on the 23rd. But that's no big deal. I can do that. Anyways, I got it all brought down so that the 8th week, that's when he's seen the, let's see here, back this out. The 8th week would be the course of Abijah, and that's when he's seen the angel in the temple, and he was dumb, he couldn't speak, right? And then the 9th week, that's when they went back to Hebron because his ministration had already been completed. And then after noon on Saturday, the Shabbat, him and Elizabeth would walk back, and then that's when John the Baptist would have been conceived on the 27th. I think Hebron from Jerusalem is like 13 miles. So then John's conception would have been 527 - 3, theoretically, and he would have received the Ruach HaKodesh in November on the 23rd, as Mary told John's mother Elizabeth her testimony of what had happened. And that's when the babe leapt in her womb. The mother and John both received the Ruach, and thus John the Baptist was sanctified. So the reckoning of the timing of the pregnancy may vary, while the conception dates are accurate within the offered timestamp in Luke 1, verse 5. It's the wave sheaf on April 7th that unites both calendars together to bring about the prophetic promises of Yahuwah. The only Sunday, first cycle, that the barley wave sheaf can occur within the 7 days of unleavened bread on both overlapping calendars of this first month is on April 7th. Count 50 days to Pentecost or Shavuot is April 26th. Zacharias would finish his duties April 26th, most likely, makes the journey home the next day, possibly even the 26th. The wave sheaf was offered at the dawning of the first day of the week, this Sunday as we know it, and there is no commandment or statute for the wave sheaf to continue outside the first day of the week, just like Pentecost or Shavuot does. There's nothing out there. It has to happen on the first day of the week. First fruits is always offered up. Okay, so I went from Pentecost plus 280. I'll give you, that's basically 9 months. That would give you a birth date in February the 24th of -2. And of course we know Yahusha was conceived. Let's go and look over here. So his conception was it the same day that he told Elizabeth? Well, there's nothing else that'll tell us differently in that this day, 11:23. Oops. 11:23 here equals 8:23. So Yahusha's conception would have happened when John was 6 months in his mother's womb. And then we add the time to that, and that's when we get our birthday, if that makes sense. I hope it does. So here I got hopefully you guys can see that okay. I had my full name up here and I didn't want everybody to know it. So I put down all the months, the 12 months in 3 BCE, 12 months in 2 BCE, and then of course 1 BCE. You can even see the stars where Jupiter was when John was conceived. And then here's 11:23 when Yahusha was conceived. And then 3 months later, Jupiter was in the heart of Leo, the lion. And then you'll see a whole team of stars gather up in Leo as Yahusha was born. See, a lot of people believe that he was born, of course, December 25th, which is false. That's got severe pagan origins around it. Many people believe that he was born on Shavuot, but that one would be very hard to prove too. I don't think he's going to completely fulfill the atonement of the fall feast until after he comes back and the Jews accept him. I think that's how that's going to go down. Open to discussion on that one. And then at 3 Kings Day, I just happened to find that while I was looking around, and that falls here. That's a pagan origin. Again, I just wrote it down on there. And then here's when John would have turned 1 year old. And then Yahusha, his first birthday would have been right here in -1. So all of this math, if you do the math on it and you look at the book of Luke, it's going to tell you at his baptism in Common Era 29 that Yahusha was about 30. Now it's not saying he was 30. It's saying that he was 29 years old and about to become 30, is from how I justify it. Again, open for discussion on that one. So the Magi descendants under Belteshazzar, we all know him as Daniel, recognize the king planet Jupiter amongst the heavenly bodies. They had just over a year to find the child. This was the star that led them east, right here, the king planet Jupiter, to the house, possibly between October 1st on the Gregorian calendar to January 15th of -1 on the Gregorian calendar. I put the Gregorian in there so everybody would better recognize what time of the year as we know it now, when all this stuff happened. Because you have to remember, when Gabriel appeared to the shepherds out in the pastures, bringing glad tidings to men, that was to the shepherds, and it was the shepherds that found the babe in swaddling clothes in the manger. It was the Magi, I believe it says in Matthew, that found the babe in the house, in the upper room, I believe. Months later. So you guys can dig into that one yourself. I encourage you to. The shepherds would find the child in the manger, 8/23 on his birthday. Mary would wait 40 days, her cleansing period. The child was circumcised 8/30 on a 7th-day cycle, Shabbat. The blessing of the child would occur on the 40th day after the cleansing period on 10/1. The Magi, after that, find the child in the house. Matthew 2:11, there it is. And there is no timestamp to ascertain the wrath of King Herod's slaughter of the innocents. Until here we find the answer in Josephus. There was an astronomical perturbation, if you want to call it that, right about here. The blood moon on January 10th of -1. There was a total eclipse that night. I've even looked this up on Stellarium to confirm it. The killing of Matthias ×2, because there was 2 priests named Matthias. Also 42 companions that Herod desecrated the temple, evidently, and they went over there to tear down the eagle or whatever it was that Herod put up. And he was deathly ill at this time. Here you'll be able to see the antiquities of the Jews. 17.167 of Flavius Josephus. He has the whole story here. And he quotes that blood moon right here. And then there's like 3 blood moons during this time. And this was the only one that made the most sense, because Passover would come so close to it. Because it says that Joseph and Mary would return out with the child out of Egypt in the 10 Passover after they found out that Herod had died. So I have King Herod's death on the 15th of 1 BCE. So Mary and Joseph return out of Egypt sometime after the death of Herod, most likely before Passover in -1 BCE. But again, you guys are more than welcome to use this information. Sorry I'm a little fuzzy on it. Like I say, I did this one over a year ago. I've shared this with many people, and they probably don't understand it either, so I figured I'd just jump on here and give you guys a brief synopsis of what I found. And I'm encouraging you to dig yourself into this. It doesn't have to be this. It can be your own information. You can extrapolate information off of this if you like. Go for it. The more we learn about our Creator, the more we learn about our Savior, will unite us. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Hope you guys all take care. And this is Cool Beans signing off.